Hi, welcome to Mad Guys Racing, and got an itchy nose already. Good start. Today we are going to have a look in Raceroom at the driver's pack, or at least the first couple of things in it anyway, so I'll probably break this down in a couple of videos to save you from my waffle a bit. So, first off, the pack consists of the track, which is a circuit to Charade. Grand Prix circuit. Why they call it a Grand Prix circuit when it's in fact the short version anyway. Who knows? In France, up the side of a mountain, well, volcano, inactive, hopefully. Cars, there's the Mazda MX5, the Crossle 90F, which is Formula Ford, the Crossle 9S, which is their sort of sports car, and the Prague 1. They're the four cars. Now, like I said, we're going to start off in the Mazda MX5 Cup car, and we'll do a slow lap and then hopefully a couple of quicker laps, and then we'll try the Formula Ford round out. I might try the Formula Ford round Silverstone as well. I was trying this round Silverstone earlier just to see how it compares, and it's quite a good round there as well. Although it does run out of top gear, so I was going to check to see whether or not you can actually adjust the final drive on it at all. Can you adjust it? Yeah, you can adjust the final drive, so that's alright. By default, round Silverstone, you actually run out of oomph up the main straight, so you get on the rev limiter in top. So yes, you do need to be able to adjust the final drive. Round here, it's fine. Let's have a quick look around the car, if I can remember which buttons to press to get to various places. I turn the mirror off, I have. Nice to model, seems to be reasonable poly count on it, so it's got no obvious nasty jaggly bits around mirrors and things. Comes with obviously a variety of different liveries. I've just chosen the first one that came to inside. No obvious lumps and bumps on the steering wheel, I don't think. Might be the odd one you can just about see. Raceroom hasn't got the highest poly models, but they're good enough, so they're certainly not as ridiculous as like Project Cars was at one point. So I will try from the bonnet cam, and I think I will just temporarily turn that off, so we get less things on the screen. Now, if I can remember the right button, I'll turn that off, but you can't see that anyway because my mug's down there, so sod it. I'll leave it there. Should I try and adjust the seat? You can't adjust the bloody position from here, can you? No, sod it. Bonnet cam it is. Right. Now, I did a little bit of this is what I'm expecting by driving around in the same car in a mod in AC, and the first thing you'll notice is the track is a lot less than the mod was. Definitely a lot less undulations. It's still got the same elevation changes, but there's a massive difference between elevation and undulation. The fact of the matter is your wheels stay better connected to the ground with less undulations. Now, in terms of quality, it is from a laser scan, so it should feel fairly good. Can't feel a lot through the steering wheel at the moment, but then we are on a flattish straight. Slightly uphill into the first turn here, or the second turn probably. I did notice there's a little bit of sort of flickering on the coloured tyres up ahead. I don't know if it'll come out on the YouTube, probably not. Curbing, big serrations on these curbs. They're up and down. Again, you probably don't hear a lot of that. You might have seen the on there. Slightly downhill into the next little chicane. It is quite a tight circuit. You can hump the hell out of these curbs in this car, and the Formula Ford as well, but a couple of the others, some of these curves are really quite banked, so especially the next couple of sets, if I remember rightly. A bit of extra tarmac here you can make use of. Keep it for grass though. Nice texturing. Trees a little bit not as good as AMS2's trees, you know, but good enough. Again, we're going sort of up. There's a slight rise here, which if you get it wrong can cause the car to get a little bit out of shape. Not this particular one, but the 9S is definitely a little bit more lively. Again, you're over a bit of a brow here, so obviously we're sitting on the bonnet, it's a bit easy to see, but trying to check for that curb on the left side there, so you use that as a bit of a reference. Makes it a little bit difficult. This is a tight little corner. As you can see, there's quite a lot of slope on that, and if you are in the wrong type of car that doesn't like sloped curbs, you will end up rotating quite nicely off that. Again, plenty of curb here, and then onto a sort of straight, which has got a kink in it, so it's not really straight, but it's close enough. Downhill, so the next braking zone's into a hairpin, and it's quite tricky. It's quite easy to run wide if you're a couple of metres late on your braking point. About 75 metres I found is about right, so sort of somewhere around here. This car has ABS, so you can probably take a few more liberties with the braking than some of the other cars, because you don't have to worry about locking up. There's a bit of camber on here. That's where the long circuit was, if I remember rightly. Is that there? I think it was where it joined in. I might be wrong on that. I'd have to double check. But then through this, again, slightly banked. There's a little bit of bank on the inside, but it's one of these where it's got a bit of camber, but it loses the camber as you go out. So if you're out wide, you've probably got a little less camber than on the inside, which can make for interesting secondary lines if you're side by side with somebody and you suddenly find yourself sliding off the side of the track because you haven't got the camber to play with, which means you can't take the corners quick. Swings and roundabouts. Somebody's been cutting the grass a bit on the left hand side here, obviously. Naughty people. Obviously not a huge amount of spectators out the back here, because like this bit of a slope up there, and presumably it drops off a slope down the left side as well. So this again, downhill braking zone, around about the 50 mark should do it, and then another tightish bend here, which tightens a bit on the sort of secondary part of it, so but you do get a bit of runoff out here to go around. Make use of that. If you go too far off there, I think you do actually get a track cut. And then this, which is a real arsehole of a corner, it sort of drops in a bit. It's cambered, but then the camber sort of disappears a bit on the exit. Very easy to overdo it, go too wide, cut. And it's a very tight corner, so it's quite easy to fuck up your braking into it. It's quite easy to run wide out of it, so definitely a place where you'll make mistakes. This you can run a bit bit dodgily here, because you're coming over a little brow again, sort of a bit of a double apex here, where the two curves are. You can run a bit wider in the middle and come back again. And then into the final couple of corners. This is reasonably quick through here, but it's quite easy to run a little bit wide. There's a little bit of extra on the outside there to play with, and then quite late braking round about where that the start of the white triangle to go into the pit lane. Again, slightly banked corner, so gives you something to get a bit more grip from. Now if I get in car, we'll try and do a slightly faster lap. Try. Stone cold tyres, of course. I turn it on so you can actually see what lap time I'm doing. Not that it matters a lot. So yeah, you can push a bit out of here. I think I was braking close to the 50 mark. Again, it's very tight. There's a lot of here. Hump the shit out of the curbs here on both sides. Make use of the extra bit of tarmac on the exit. Very easy to run wide through the first part of that because you're going over this little brow. Again, as you can see, quite difficult to spot that curb on the left side to use it as a bit of a braking turning point. And then with this you can take liberties with the curb on the inside. Other cars you can't. Like I said, the 9S Crossle is very prone to spinning on that. There's plenty of camber change, elevation change, so if you don't like circuits with lots of camber and elevation changes, you probably ain't going to like this. It's got a nice flow to it, despite the fact it's quite tight. Like I said, this is the tightest corner and a bit of an arsehole to get round. Use all full width there. Did try and keep it as tight as possible. You can see the slight elevation or sort of brow as you go over there, and that can actually upset the car quite a bit. Not the longest circuit in the world, but because it's quite tight, it's a sort of couple of minute lap in this, so it gives you a bit of time to think about things. Now, as far as the car goes, it is very neutral, as in you can fairly take the piss with it. But like I said, you can hump the curbs with it. It's got ABS, so you can sort of take a few liberties on the brakes, and it is quite well balanced. So if anything, it's got a very slight understeer tendency, but very, very minor. Hardly any lift off oversteer on it. You can just about get a bit of oversteer if you really push it coming out of corners, but it is basically just very neutral, which makes it a good sort of good car to learn in, or a bad car depending upon your point of view, really. Like I said, that corner's really tight. Now, in terms of the circuit and whether or not it'll be any good for racing, I'm not really sure. That is the point where you would like a little bit of lift off oversteer to persuade the back end to come around a bit, but nope. Because of that corner being nicely cambered, you can get on the power really early on it, so yeah, it's a couple of laps there, that'll do. But yeah, the car, very nice. It's a car you can basically take the piss with and take all sorts of liberties with, and it won't bite, which is it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because it means you can teach yourself bad habits. That you jump in other cars and you're suddenly going, why am I crashing all the time? It's because you picked up bad habits from driving a really placid, easy to drive car. So yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Right, we'll try the Formula Ford Crossle 90F. Shall we go with the... Oh yeah, we'll go with the gold colours. I know somebody will appreciate the fact there's gold colours. There's gold colours on the 9S as well. For those that like their golf colours, and I don't mean flogging a dead horse walking around a piece of green with bits of sand in it, golf either. I mean the oil company. Ho hum. Sometime later. Right, I was just trying to remember, I don't think there's a lot of adjustability in this. I don't think you can even adjust the final ratio. No, you can't. 4-speed gearbox. Obviously no traction control. Usual bit of adjustment. Front and rear tail reasonably sort of, as you compare. No anti-roll bar on the back. Okay, that would explain why it's a little bit same. Hard tyres, treaded tyres. I do feel like I'm sitting in a weird position here. You might notice on the mirrors on this. I'll just get around here and we'll have a little jaunt around it if I can get to my bloody keyboard. Where's my keys gone? Is that the right one? No, not that one. No. Oh. Got your finger in the wrong place. Story of my life. Get the size of that bloody silencer. It's enormous. Used all the polygons on that. I haven't got any left for the mirrors. Yeah, classic. Quite a classic little car in terms of lines. It's sort of. It reminds me a bit of like something that Colin Chapman might have come up with back in the day. But yeah, nice little car. Nice to see a sort of an age-appropriate helmet with the open face with a peak. But, see all that weight in the back there? Yeah. You would expect it to be a bit of a pendulum, but strangely, it ain't. So let's get on board. Like I said, 4-speed box. First is actually quite long. About 6,500 RPM to change up. One thing you will notice is it seems to be really softly sprung, so it's whoop. It's also H pattern, and I keep forgetting about. I have squeaky as well. Again, you can attack the curbs in it, so a little bit more tendency to sling the back at the scenery than the Mazda. I will stop doing that in a minute and change down into neutral. First, they're so tall, I keep forgetting I'm in first and keep thinking I'm in second or third. So. Quite easy to lock the brakes up. That's one thing you will notice. But look at that wheel bouncing up and down on them curbs. These are heavily serrated, these curbs, some of them. That's not so bad, that one's not so bad. But the ones on the tighter corners are really heavily serrated, and you do wheels doing this, so in fact you barely get into 4th gear. The FFP is quite light on this. And like I said, 1st gear's really tall, so I mean you're talking 70 miles an hour in 1st gear. You have to be a little bit more cautious with this across that rail, otherwise it can get a bit snappy. But I mean, generally speaking, it is pretty tamely set up, so it won't do anything too stupid. And when it does start to slide, Whether it's because it's got treaded tyres or whether it's just the way it's set up, it does recover quite well. One thing I have noticed about it is it does like to get a bit of weight on the front end to get it turning in. As soon as you try and... it's more obvious, it's not so obvious around here, but it's much more obvious around Silverstone. If you take it there with a sort of slightly more open circuit, you can end up with a lot more situations where you're sort of having to get on and off the throttle to get the front end to regrip because it's gone a little bit understeer on the front end as you're trying to power out of a corner. So it's got lots of turning initially when you're on the brakes, as long as you haven't got the tyres locked, of course. So like plenty of turning, really sharp turning, and then as you come out the corner it eases off the turning. So it's like as you come on and off the throttle, it's sort of like changing. It feels like it, whether it really is, it feels like it's changing the actual amount of steering input. So it's like bump steer effectively. But I mean, it's quite neutral. It's a lot more neutral than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be quite easy to chuck the back end of the scenery, and it's a lot more neutral than I thought it was. Like I said, the bit of understeer on throttle, so you have to sort of, you're almost steering it with your right foot there, rather than steering it on throttle, on the steering wheel. So it's like you come in here, you lift your foot off and it darts in. So yeah, slightly strange. Again, on and off the throttle to try and get it to rotate. And I must stop doing that. Yeah, you can hump the curbs, but it don't really feel particularly great over them sometimes because it's so damn bouncy, really. Brakes are a little easy to lock, probably because the tyres are quite skinny and not the grippiest tyres in the world. And what sort of speed we're getting up there? 110? Close to 110. But don't go into first too soon, otherwise you will cause problems, although it's not as bad as it could be worse. Again, they're trying to power out and the front end just, it's like I've lifted the front end up, I'm not going to give it any front end to actually come out the corner with, and it doesn't rotate on the power. So you're doing all your sort of all your steering going into the corner. If you want to do any steering coming out of the corner, you have to sort of use a bit of persuasion, I think is the correct term. I mean, it's not a bad car, and once you get the hang of how it's wanting to be driven, it's quite a fun car to drive. Just somewhat different to the Mazda, that's for certain. Like I said, you get it to rotate coming into the corner, and then when it's rotated enough, you just put the power down and it stops rotating. Which is interesting. Let's not use neutral. Like I said, you do get a hell of a lot of bounce. I don't know if it's just because you can see the flaming wheels, but it does appear to have a lot of motion in the suspension, so I don't know if it's better in second through there or not. I think I'm picking up a bit of time purely from the fact of actually getting some heat in the tyres. I can at least feel like it's on the verge of locking up, so it does give you a bit of warning. I'm not quite sure how it's doing it, but it appears to be giving me a bit of warning that it's thinking about locking up on the front end. I just feel so clumsy coming out of there because it's so damn tight. I don't think it would make a lot of difference what you're driving, it just feels clumsy. Try and get it straight over that little brow and then bit of a lift off to get it to steer, and then off you go again through there. A little bit of a lift to get it to steer. Yeah, interesting car. Definitely different. It feels a lot different to. I can't think of another car in the game that feels like it. Having said that, there might be another one in the pack that feels a bit like it, only maybe slightly worse. But that's the first two cars, and the Charade circuit. I don't know how long we've been recording for. Just over 25 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Silverstone for the other two. So watch out for part two. But for now, I think the Charade circuit is nicely done. It's an interesting layout. How good it'll be for racing on, I'm not really sure. It's got plenty of interesting braking zones, like downhill or uphill, that are likely to give you an opportunity where people have outbrake themselves, because especially on the downhill ones, you only have to be a metre too late and you've overrun by about 5 metres, and there's not a huge amount of runoff for most of them, with a bit of gravel on the outside. So once you're back on, you're going to be going, oh, I've got shit all over my tyres. Crew chief will tell you, thank you, crew chief, I know that, I can see it, I've just been in a gravel trap. But yes, as far as the cars go, the Mazda is just, it's lunacy, because you can just throw it around all over the place. I might do a couple of laps in it at Silverstone and sort of try and demonstrate how insanely difficult it is to actually drive it badly enough to actually do something silly in it, like spin it. I ended up, I did 10 laps in it earlier today, 15 laps, something daft, because I was just enjoying it so much, and I was going, how far can I push it before I actually spin it? And you're sort of coming into various corners, just hard on the brakes, throwing the thing in, and it's like, it's just not going. So yeah, easy to drive, but easy to drive badly, which I think as a car learning isn't necessarily a good thing. So this thing, it requires an interesting technique which won't necessarily relate to every other car, although it does relate to the other two cars in the pack somewhat. So we'll get onto that in the next episode. So for now, nice track, nicely modelled, couple of nice interesting cars for different reasons. One because it's just insane to throw around, and the other one because it's an interesting driving technique required. So far so good, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now. Where's my button?